What if I told you that the same medication helping people lose weight might also be the key, or at least a piece of the puzzle, to breaking free from alcohol addiction? A recent study published in JAMA Psychiatry is turning everything we thought we knew about addiction and addiction treatment upside down. Hi, I'm Dr. Will Cole, and today we're diving into groundbreaking research that shows semaglutide, yes, the peptide, semaglutide, the sort of main peptide within things like Ozempic and Wegovy. This peptide reduced alcohol consumption by nearly 30% in just 9 weeks. But before you think this is just another quick fix, stick around because I'm going to share the functional medicine perspective on why this works, what it means for your health, and most importantly, how you can support your body's natural ability to reduce cravings without medications. As someone who's worked with thousands of telehealth patients around the world struggling with food addiction, metabolic dysfunction, and even people that have addictive personalities for substances as well, their bodies in a lot of dysregulation, this research doesn't surprise me at all, because the same neurometabolic pathways that drive food cravings and compulsive behaviors are absolutely connected to addictive behaviors like alcohol abuse. But here's what most people don't understand, and what this study reveals and why it's so fascinating to me. There's so much more to the story. So let's break down this fascinating study, shall we? Researchers took 48 adults. It wasn't a large study, but 48 adults with alcohol use disorder. And here's the key. None of them were actively seeking treatment. They gave half the group weekly semaglutide injections, this peptide that I've seen great success with for telehealth patients. So half of the group got weekly semaglutide peptide injections, and half got placebo for 9 weeks. Now, what I love about this study is that they used conservative doses with slight increases if tolerated. This is what I call microdosing semaglutide, and I'll explain why this matters and what I've seen clinically. Participants taking semaglutide consumed nearly 30% less alcohol according to lab testing, not just self-reporting. They also reported significant reductions in alcohol cravings, total alcohol per drinking per day, and heavy drinking days. And here's what really impressed me about the study. 96% of participants completed the study, showing these lower doses were well tolerated. They even found reduced cigarette use in smokers, suggesting this impacts addictive behavior more broadly, not just around alcohol. Compulsive behavior, addictive behavior. Now, before we get too excited, let's talk study limitations, right? Let's look at the context and nuance. This was only 48 people, right? For 9 weeks, so not a lot of people, short duration. We need larger, longer-term studies. It focused on non-treatment seeking individuals, so we don't know how it works for people actively trying to quit drinking. But here's why I think this research is so critical and important. It gives us some insight into the mechanisms behind addiction and cravings. And if you've ever struggled with food addiction, compulsive eating, or alcohol dependence, or any other type of compulsive behavior, you know how impossible, it's seemingly impossible, it feels to even begin healing when your brain is so constantly screaming at you and pulling you towards that compulsive addictive behavior. This is where I see semaglutide and other peptides fitting in, not as a cure-all, let me be clear, not as a magic cure-all, but as one potential tool in a comprehensive toolbox. Something that can help quiet that internal noise long enough for you to get your head above water and start doing the deeper healing work. So how does this actually work? Let's explore the mechanism of action here. Let me break down the science of what's happening. GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide, is the hormone your gut naturally produces, your body naturally produces in the gut. It promotes insulin release, reduces appetite, and here's the key. It communicates directly with the reward centers in your brain, the pleasure centers in your brain. GLP-1 receptors are found in your pancreas, your gut, and throughout your brain, including areas involved in dopamine signaling and addiction pathways. Semaglutide, this peptide, mimics your natural GLP-1, and when it binds to these brain receptors, it can blunt dopamine spikes. This makes rewarding behaviors like drinking alcohol or overeating feel less urgent, less compulsive, less out of control. It's like turning down the volume on these cravings that feel so overwhelming and so out of control for so many people. Now, here's where my functional medicine perspective comes in. Semaglutide, this peptide, might reduce cravings, and it could be an incredible short-term tool within the toolbox. But it doesn't address why those cravings exist in the first place. In functional medicine, we always ask, what's the root causes? What's the upstream causation? Common factors I see include unresolved past emotional trauma, gut inflammation, blood sugar dysregulation, emotional disconnection, even spiritual facets for some people, or disrupted gut-brain communication. Here's what's fascinating. Your gut naturally makes GLP-1, especially when supported by proper nutrition and lifestyle factors. When your gut-brain axis is dysregulated and GLP-1 production is low, you're way more likely to be reactive, compulsive, and experience intense cravings of all sorts, depending on who you are. So my approach with telehealth patients is this. If a peptide like semaglutide gets you stable enough to feel stronger, more resilient, and do the deeper work, that's a win. No doubt about it, no shame about it. But we can't stop there. We need to figure out what's happening with your body's own GLP-1 production, and more broadly, your gut health as a whole. The good news is this, guys. You don't always need pharmaceuticals. You don't always need medications. In many cases, the overwhelming amount of cases, you can support natural GLP-1 production with food changes, with lifestyle strategies that are sustainable without any potential side effects. Let me share my top recommendations. First, eat fiber-rich whole foods, leafy greens, chia seeds, avocados, and fruits, legumes, if you tolerate them. These feed your gut microbiome and increase natural GLP-1 secretion. Make sure you're getting adequate protein and healthy fats. Both are essential for proper digestion, satiety, feeling full appropriately, and for blood sugar regulation, all of which impact your natural endogenous GLP-1 production. Try intermittent fasting. Research shows fasting can enhance GLP-1 receptor sensitivity and improve metabolic flexibility, something that I've written about, talked about at length over the past 15 plus years. And consider targeted supplements. Berberine and curcumin are two of my go-to options for natural GLP-1 secretion support. In fact, these are so effective for reducing inflammation and supporting metabolic health that I created my own high-quality versions, third-party tested, pure formulas that I would recommend to my telehealth patients and I take myself. I'll make sure to put the links in the description below. Look, I'm excited about this research, especially the focus on lower doses. This is something that we implement for telehealth patients who need them. Microdosing peptides like semaglutide is something that I've seen fantastic use for telehealth patients around the world as a tool within the toolbox. But we have to remember that healing from addiction, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether it's other substances or other activities, involves a deeper understanding of your body, of your physiology, of your emotions, and your mental health. In my telehealth practice, I've seen incredible transformations when we address the root causes. Healing gut inflammation, balancing blood sugar, processing past emotional trauma, supporting the nervous system regulation, and restoring natural neurotransmitter production. The most successful outcomes happen when we combine the best of both worlds, both and, not either or, using tools like low-dose semaglutide and other peptides when appropriate in the right clinical setting, when simultaneously addressing the underlying imbalances that created the problem in the first place. So what are your practical next steps? What's the takeaway here? First, if you're struggling with alcohol cravings or addiction, know that there are more options available than ever before. Seek help, reach out. You cannot do this alone. This research gives us hope and new avenues to explore, and more studies can be done now. Second, consider working with a functional medicine practitioner to identify your root causes. And of course, if you have an addiction, reach out to an addiction specialist. You cannot do this alone. As far as functional medicine, working alongside addiction specialists, it can include things like lab testing, gut microbiome analysis, metabolic assessment, nutrient deficiencies, and understanding what are these root causes, what are the pieces to your puzzle. Third, start implementing natural GLP-1 support strategies today. Don't wait for a pharmaceutical. Start improving your health. Having better neuroimmunoendocrine axis regulation. Focus on fiber-rich foods, quality protein, healthy fats, and consider intermittent fasting if appropriate for your situation. And remember, healing is rarely a solo journey. I cannot repeat it enough. If you're looking for open-minded, big picture support, consider booking a telehealth consultation with either myself or a functional medicine telehealth team. We've done it for a long time. I started the first functional medicine telehealth clinic over 15 years ago at the time of making this video. We work with people around the globe to address root causes and create lasting healing in the body, sustainable healing. You can find all the information in the description below. If this video was valuable, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more functional medicine content, and let me know in the comments, guys, have you experienced connections between your gut health and your cravings?